My name is Sharina, and this is my applied assignment for SPE223. So I'll be going over the pre-work, the research, new learning, and continuing inquiry based on the topic that I decided to choose. So let's get started. So for my pre-work, I decided to focus on autism training and teachers. The reason why is because I noticed that teachers do get frustrated when it comes to an autistic child. It's either they unable to handle their behavior or they don't give too much attention compared to the other students, and they usually just like put them on the side and let them do their own thing. And I decided to do it at my child development center. So for my interview, I decided to do two people. One is a military and family life counseling, which is we call them MFLAC for short, and along with a trainer specialist. Basically, both of these two people that I interviewed, they help us with anything that we're concerned about, either on a child or with a family or life in general. For my background knowledge, based on my experiences, I've been working with autism children who doesn't communicate as much and usually throws tantrums, and I've noticed a lot of my colleagues do get frustrated and don't really want to deal with the autism children. So the research that I decided to choose based on our courses was increasing positive attitudes towards individual with disability through community service learning. Basically, this article talks about fairness between with and without disabilities and how moderate discrimination towards individuals with disabilities. I think this is a great article because it talks about with and without disability, and I believe this is also good for my colleagues to read as well, because we can work things out with and without disabilities in the classroom. And along with integrating people with disability into the workforce, although this article talks about employees with disability, but I just thought that how we work with adults in the workforce, we can also implement it in our children's in a classroom setting based on their age group. And then my research, I found one book and an article. The book was very interesting. It did caught my eye a lot, and it was a very long book, but I decided to skim through the chapters, and there was one chapter that caught my eye, which is called Speech and Grammatical Development. I decided to read that chapter because sometimes communication is one of the symptoms in autism children, and I just wanted to read more about like ways of communicating with children with autism. And the second article that I found was Life in Inclusion Classroom, Storytelling with Disability Studies in Education. I believe this is a great article to read because it does contain 10 articles based on inclusion and disability in a classroom setting. And it gave us great point of views of different teachers in their own classroom setting and how they cooperate and add in inclusion in their classroom setting. So that was a very great information that I found. So for my evidence, I did come up with 7 questions to ask my MFLAC and my special trainer. They were a great help. They answered each questions with great answers, and I did implement them in my classroom along with like other classroom that does have kids with autism. And for my new learning, so based on inclusion, we learned ways in a classroom life that provides an understanding of involvement to make the lives of children with disability, their families, and us educators a better place. And I just think autism is a common disability in a child care facility. And, we just want all kids to be included. And also, these are my pictures of my kids. I did allow my parents to sign the consent form. And so for equity, we learned that being patient and being fair with all children, especially with children with autism, we want to encourage them to join. And even though they don't want to join, like, we just have to be fair, you know. Like, if we learn to, like, never force a child to join in an activity that you want to do. And I think it's just being a being accommodating to the children's needs can help build a relationship with them and other kids around them as well. So I think building a relationship, it builds trust with us and along with the kids. For access, we did go over this with me and my colleagues, and we decided to include a lesson plan about disability in our classroom and also post pictures of children with disabilities. And of course, we just want to be a great role models to the children. And we did notice that patience is the key to work with children with and without autism. We just want to observe and notice the needs of the kids and to just make the change when it's needed, because it could also be the environment that they are in. So for my continued inquiry, now I want to know, like, how we can work with parents on a daily routines from home to school, or how do adults with autism work on their daily life. Um, for me, I am a lead teacher in my class, and I would just continue to communicate with parents as they arrive and pick up their child, and just overall being open minded to their concerns and trying to accommodate and be cooperative with their concerns. And also, we do have another specialty in our program. It is also called a special needs coordinator. So if we do have trouble with children with disabilities, we do call this special needs coordinator, and she'll come help us and just do observations and give us more resources based on the child. And it just also made me realize, like, as these young children with autism grow up, like, how does the adult life with autism work throughout their daily life. And these are my questions from my peers. I do have 3, but you don't have to answer all. Just answer one of them. One is what ways you bring inclusion in your classrooms, if you are in a classroom, or the environment you work in. If you are a lead teacher, how would you help your colleagues work with an autistic child? And what's the first thing you think about when working with autism children? And that concludes my slide. And thank you all for listening. And happy holidays and take care. Aloha.